You're listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marci Persky. In this installment, how many bad decisions can you stuff into one podcast? And you should consider our choice to make this podcast in the first place, kind of like landing on free parking in Monopoly. It doesn't count. I have an update for you since our last podcast.
Right on.
The spousal unit who got in so much trouble for making me ride the CTA red line at 1 o'clock in the morning has been proudly telling everybody to listen to the podcast. He's clearly a glutton for punishment.
Well, as you learned when you were here, we live in the path of least resistance. That would never happen. My husband would be out there in the middle of the road at the airport, tagging the first cab and say, "Here, take my wife." I mean, like, take her, because I don't have money for the fare, but take her.
I will say that your spouse, your cute little Frankie, told me the story of how he got into some kind of inebriated brawl on his way home from a club where he'd seen his favorite band many years ago. Also a problem that had its genesis on the CTA Red Line, and Chicago's finest simply ferried him to the closest emergency room.
Yeah, he's so cute.
He was so cute and so bloody at that moment. So from Frankie, I understood that the connection between riding the CTA late at night and being admitted to a local emergency room is not a new thing. But he was apparently, he realized in the course of this confrontation that nobody had a gun, which made him feel fine about screaming in their faces, "You don't have a gun!"
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that in Chicago. You never know what else they might have. Dirty
That's
hypodermic needle. I mean, there are plenty of ways to get even if you don't have a gun. But I think that our podcast listener who listens from a non-metropolitan area may have just gotten a great lesson in why you live where you do and don't live where I do.
That's right. And now you've been here. And you know that I do not live in hillbilly hell or whatever you imagined. That we have water.
You do.
We have power.
You do.
The one day, I have to admit, we lost 1,000 gallons of water.
Yeah, but that's because of your progeny and not because of your home.
Yes, Eve was watering the goats, and it was actually warm enough to turn on the hose, which is crazy in winter. But she turned on the hose and then went in the house. And I came out at, 6 o'clock at night.
Forgot all about it, did she?
The entire back goat yard was flooded. And Frankie said, "Oh, don't worry about it. We have plenty of water."
I heard that.
And
we didn't. You didn't. Oh, man.
No. It turned out to be 1,000 gallons.
What is the response of your daughter when you point out to her that she's just flooded the entire deserty backyard of your home and that you no longer have water for drinking and bathing?
Well, you would expect the response would be, "Oh, well, here's some money to go replace the water."
Well, a person who hadn't met your daughter might have that.
But no, the response is, "Oh." Which kind of means it's a cross between sorry and whatever.
Oh, a cross between sorry and whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You know, I birthed her. I take credit for all the good parts. The other parts, we're going to blame on the heavens.
It could be worse. Would you like to know the F up that I'm dealing with now that I'm about to be done dealing with because it's so messed up that there's no hope for it and I'm giving up officially today?
Uh-oh.
And let this be a cautionary tale. You know that I took care of my ailing girlfriend along with her wonderful, wonderful other girlfriends because she was in LA and I was here. And she passed away about 10 months ago now, 8 months ago. And she always gave the impression that she was totally on top of everything, right? Her living situation, her fashion stuff, her food stuff, her health stuff, her money stuff. Let's just stop at the money stuff. We'll push all the other stuff aside. She was not at all on top of her money stuff in any way, shape, or form. And what she left was a big giant mess for me to take care of, including, and the reason that I'm bringing this up is, there are forms that you can fill out. Like when you go to work someplace and they say, you have a death benefit at our company X that makes microphone clips. And thank you for, if you work here for 20 years at company X that makes microphone clips, your descendants will inherit $100,000 because you've paid in and we paid in and whatever paid in. So she had what we all know affectionately as a 401k. And you fill out forms when you set those up. And it says, if I die, who gets my 401k? So the thing is, you don't really have a 401k till you've worked someplace 10, 20, 30 years. By then, you may have forgotten that the original person on your 401k is someone whose guts you now hate completely.
No.
So even if your will, which you made up 4 years ago, says nothing about giving anything to the person whose guts you hate completely because you've had 30 years to learn to thoroughly hate their guts, guess what happens? That's right. And to make it stranger, if your company that made microphone clips has been bought by a company that makes motorcycle pedals and the whole 401k moves over, they may lose track of part of the form with the primary person whose guts you now hate. And now there's a secondary person whose guts you also hate, possibly even worse than the first person. And maybe in transition, they lost track of the first person. And you think, oh, great, there's nobody named as the primary beneficiary. That means that I, who am in charge of taking care of this person, didn't have to pay for burying her out of my own pocket, can afford to buy a gravestone, and maybe take the 8 girlfriends in LA who looked after her so well out to lunch. Because there really isn't that much money in the 401k. There's just enough to really be furious that, no, they've decided to give it all to the second person whose guts she hated most of all.
That's why you should always write the name of your youngest pet, because then everybody will fight to take care of your pet for you for the rest of its life.
What if it's already dead? Then you go right back to the hell situation. So I just found out today, after calling and notarizing and sending and faxing and waiting.
That there's nothing you can do?
Well, I sort of had a feeling a couple months ago that might be nothing I could do. But now it has been confirmed today that the most despised, the godson, who was no godson, who didn't even bother to ever go see her or thank her or visit her after everything she did for him up until he turned to be about 13 or 14, because I'm telling you this was many years ago, is going to get a fantastic little windfall, which should buy him, I don't know, a funeral for somebody if he would like. So that happened today. So what I need to say to everyone is, be careful when you fill out those forms, because they're cleverly constructed to be an end run around anybody's will. So I know I've heard this story of people who filled those out when they were married, and now they're like 3 more spouses down the line, and the money goes to the spouse that, there's just nothing you can do. There really is nothing you can do. I mean, unless you want to go to jail for killing that person and the secondary person, there's just nothing you can do.
Usually it's not worth it.
Pardon?
I said usually it's not worth it. The jail part.
It's not worth going to jail for this. So, yeah, that was the other thing that happened. So when I say how long does it take after you get back from your vacation to thoroughly work yourself into a state of complete fury? And on top of that, the little icing on the cake is when I came back, my telephone was down, and I get my studio landline through my cable service, which meant that I had to talk to the cable service, which meant that even though you tell them 16 times all the things that you have done, they have to do them all over again. On top of which, some customer service training program has told everybody that what you really want to do is tell these people about your day. So they keep trying to engage you. Do they have Valentine's Day in India?
Let me ask Steve. I don't know.
Steve, your consumer help person in India.
Yes, Steve, my everything.
I always
get Steve, no matter what's wrong in this house.
I think I got, who did I get today? Irving or something? I don't know why he picked Irving.
So,
But
well, next time, tell him you want to talk to Steve.
you can just sort of see on their computer screen when they sign in. It's Valentine's Day in America. Be sure to ask all your customers that you are helping with their tech. Be sure to wish them a happy Valentine's Day and ask them how their day is going. Like,
Have you unplugged it and plugged it back in?
just a moment. I hate to interrupt us while we're recording, but the small cutie needs editing help on a paper. Hold on. Hey, I'm still recording. I'll call you as soon as I'm done. Okay. That's the small child who promised me I would have a paper to edit this weekend, but as you can see, it's no longer last weekend, so.
Is it Monday or Tuesday?
I believe
How am I off a day?
It's Monday.
Crap. I screwed everything up today. Now I got to go back and call everybody for every appointment that I made today and say, not Wednesday, Tuesday. So there we go.
Can I ask if you've recently been on vacation?
I have not, but I did kind of had a vacation from life on Saturday. Here's a cautionary tale for you.
Ah,
So do you remember on, I think it was Tuesday, we had a delicious salad for dinner?
yes, it was yummy.
Well, on Friday, I found the leftover salad in the fridge and I went, oh, I totally forgot about this and I'm going to eat it for lunch. So I dump it out in a plate and it was a little bit slimy. And I went, well, that's because it's got avocado in it. And I'm sure avocado gets slimy. So I dumped a bunch of salad dressing on it, woofed that baby down. And by 9 o'clock Friday, I wanted to shoot myself. I was so sick.
Oh, dear.
9 o'clock Friday, all the way till Sunday morning. It was just like, okay, I hate vegetables now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so never eat a slimy salad.
I love this podcast. It has so much helpful advice.
It really does.
We should maybe change the category in which it appears.
To women's health.
There you go. Because I know that the spousal unit could have stomached that salad with no problem.
Oh, you know what? Mine probably could too.
We've got to be at least as helpful as Gwyneth Paltrow and her wax-scented Lady Bits candles. Thanks for listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. If you'd like to do us a great favor, please leave us a good review wherever you hear this podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Turi Ryder's She Said What. And you might also enjoy my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air, which you can find any place you buy your books or on Amazon.